Alright, ringing up Mulla and Kenna. Alright, see if we can get something resolved. Alright, Mulla and Kenna, we can get something resolved. And the answer is going to be no. They're not even going to answer the phone. I leave a message, they're not going to answer. Alright. 01274432675.
Welcome to the EE voicemail.
Okay, I'll try ring up 01274432228.
This is the voicemail of Graham Cannon and the Council. I'm not available at this moment. If you could leave a message and a clear telephone number, I will get back to you as soon as possible.
You may start your message now.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Kenna. It's Mr. Hussain. Once again, leaving yourself a message. Today is Monday, the 7th of September, 2020, and the time is 12:44. It seems that you, the local authority, are very keen to put me back into prison, and you're not looking to take on your own responsibility and duty of care in relation to both my mother and brother. Please, can you look to contact me ASAP so we can arrange a telephone appointment so I may look to get to the bottom of some of the abuses of process that you are now undertaking. I'm going to continue to leave you messages, Mr. Kenna. It's inexcusable that you're refusing to engage with me, asking me to put things in writing very pedantically and forcing my compliance under your rules and regulations when clearly the Director of Health and Wellbeing is fully aware that there are costs, my own costs associated with providing a level of care to both individuals that you, the local authority, still have a duty of care to, where you're now hiding behind the corporate veil. Not acceptable at all, Mr. Kenna. Please look to engage with me fully. 01274432089.
This is the voicemail for legal social care. Unfortunately, messages are not accessible at the moment. Please put your queries in an email to legal-socialcare-inquiries.gov.uk.
Okay, so nobody's answering that. I'll try ringing them up. Let's try ringing up the financial protection team. 437. No. 01274437361.
Welcome to the EE voicemail. I'm sorry, but the person you've called is not a...
Hello, Carol speaking.
Yes, hello. Can I ask who I'm speaking to?
It's Carol. Carol Wilcott. Can I help?
Oh, is this not Pat Verdanian's phone?
She may have transferred it to me. She's on leave all week.
Oh, is she on leave? Okay, alright. I think I've spoken to yourself before. It's Mr. Hussain regarding my brother Talib Hussain.
Oh, yeah, I think you might have done.
Yeah, I'm trying to get in touch with Mr. Mulla. I've been trying for some time. It just doesn't go through to his call.
Well, I can't help you on that. Everybody's working at home, so I'm not even in the office. So I can't really help you at all at the moment.
Is there anybody else that's dealing with my brother's case in the absence of Miss Verdanian being on holiday and Mr. Mulla not being available?
Well, there is only Ismail Mulla that will speak to you, so you need to talk to him. Have you rung his number?
Yes, can I just confirm his number is 432675?
That's the one, yeah, and it should be going through because I have spoke to him today.
But I've rang him up and it just nobody's answering it.
I can't help you then, I'm sorry, but I've been told that all calls from yourself have to go to Ismail, so...
Okay, all right, that's correct, yes, but when I speak to Ismail, he tells me I need to speak, he's not willing to speak to me, I need to speak to Mr. Kenner of the legal team, and then on a daily basis, I'm leaving messages for Mr. Kenner, Mr. Kenner.
Right, well, I can't help you on the...
Okay, all right, that's fair enough, but how can I resolve the situation?
I don't know. Maybe you need to write to Ismail, I don't know.
Oh, but I have written to him previous times. I mean, certain things, that are quicker to be done just by the telephone.
Hold on.
Pardon? You slammed the phone on me. Let's try Mr. Mulla again. Just slammed the phone on me. This is just ridiculous, alright? They're just basically degrading me and humiliating me, begging me for money that belongs to Talib that they're now controlling. 01274 432 675. So this is if he rings on a private, anybody rings on a private number, don't answer the call. That's the reality. Alright? Don't take any of his calls. Don't talk to him. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Mulla, you're a difficult guy to get a hold of. I've just spoken to Caroline. Is it Caroline Wilcox?
Well, I'm a very, very busy man, as you know.
Yes, I understand. And so am I, Mr. Mulla, as well. But I have been persistently calling, but I've not had a mind to get through to yourself. How are you doing?
Not bad, and you?
Struggling as usual, because nobody's willing to engage with us. I'm constantly ringing yourself up, and I'm not leaving a message, but I'm ringing up then Mr. Kenner and leaving him a message on a daily basis, and he's refusing to call me back or engage with me at all. Now, as you know, I mean, I don't know if I've recently made you aware, I have sent you an email saying that, I've recently spent a lot of money buying my brother a mobility vehicle. Not a mobility vehicle, a mobility wheelchair.
Okay.
And, obviously, this needs to be refunded to myself. I've spent a lot of money in the thousands of pounds taking my brother to a holiday last year on the basis and understanding that, the lasting power of attorney had kicked in, only for yourselves to have it negated, and in the background are colluding with the Office of the Public Guardian to have it, suspended. But the reality is, at the moment, that has not happened. The Office of the Public Guardian has not suspended or revoked my brother's lasting power of attorney, much like they have already achieved in my mother's case. And so effectively today, the lasting power of attorney still stands in place. And I think the last time when we've had conversations, you've informed me originally, if you remember, that you were applying to the Office of the Court of Protection.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that was your original position. So can you tell me, have you applied to the Court of Protection? Have you heard anything back?
To be honest, and I'm being really honest with you, I don't know what the latest situation is, to be honest.
Okay, all right. But there was a situation where prior to me going to Pakistan, I did ask, remember this was in 2019, in March, I believe that the other solicitor that was dealing with this case was, not Ramsden's, I can't remember his name, but my brother Adalet was dealing with this through a solicitor, and at that time the courts had decided my brother was going to be the deputy, and then the case got transferred to yourself, and then there's been a lot of toing and froing, and then eventually when I've registered my lasting power of attorney, you've then gone to the DWP and said, no, we want to be the appointee again, and now you're refusing to remove appointeeship. We're having people to deliver the money, and nothing's really been resolved. Like, for example, he's missing substantial amounts of disability payments. The backlog of disability payments that we're not receiving. And my understanding was that those backlog of disability payments would have been utilized to fund his trip to Pakistan. But then, lo and behold, while we've gone to Pakistan and you've realized that lasting power of attorney is in place, you've then become my brother's appointee.
We've always been your brother's appointee.
No, you haven't. You've not always been my brother's appointee, because
Well, whenever we took over, I don't know what, again, I'm having problems actually, as we speak, I'm having problems logging onto the system, because obviously, as you know, I'm working from home.
Is that the same with everybody?
I can't see any details about what happened to your brother or whatever.
Okay, not a problem. But have you guys been working home since March?
Yes, we have, yeah.
Or the whole team?
Yep.
Okay, all right. When is it likely that you're going to be coming back to work?
Well, we're working, but in terms of office presence and what have you, it's up to the council senior management in terms of when they ask us to come in.
Okay, all right. And has it not been a case, because I'm obviously following the news as well, that the Boris Johnson has said everybody should come back to work now?
I know he has said that, but obviously it's at the discretion of local managers as well.
I see. Well, okay, that's fair enough. But you can understand, Mr. Mulla, from my situation, the situation is becoming, highly hostile, and it's always been hostile. You've read my emails. The local authority presently are looking to put me back into prison, okay? And they need an excuse, so they made some trumped-up charges, like or I've committed contempt of court, all right, by disclosing to people that my mother's, you're presently pursuing an welfare application. Now, this is ongoing legal proceedings concurrently that are running in the background to obviously my brother's case as well. So they're desperately trying to put me back into prison, and then obviously then looking to take control of my family, in essence. And the reality is that since March this year, did I tell you my mother was not living with us?
Well, I know that we're still living in Oldham.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
So since March this year, she's actually been living back home.
Okay.
All right. And when the local authority realizes, because what the local authority were doing was quite sneakily, and you know how they operate, they're forcing my mother to still live in Oldham at my sister's house, then going to court and forcing that she's going to live there permanently, while there's no provisions in place for her. And at the same time, then taxing me with a council tax liability. All right, because they're saying, oh, you're living here. But the reality is that this house that we're living in, if it's not, my mother's not receiving council tax rebate, then my brother is entitled to this benefit. But they have sneakily put it onto my name and given me a £2,000 council tax liability. Well, you see, these are all like sneaky maneuvers, and simply because they know, and obviously I've made yourself aware that I'm charging £1 million a week for the care that I'm providing my brother under Section 117 of the aftercare provisions in the Mental Health Act. Now, as humorous as that may sound to you, and we've had this discussion before, it's equally alarming what the local authority are doing in the background. Now, the reality is that you're not able to achieve this without the collaboration and assistance of other people or other organizations. For example, you're telling me today you've always been my brother's DWP appointee.
Well, I'm saying always, as in from the days we took over, so I don't know when, like I say, I'm having problems.
Well, I mean, that is not factually accurate as well. But let me just explain to you that I was my brother's DWP appointee, and the reason I was his appointee is not because that he lacks mental capacity. I've always been his appointee for several reasons. First of all, he doesn't speak English, and he doesn't read English. I mean, other than the basic, you understand a few letters and words. So he needed somebody to manage his DWP payments. And so I've been handling and managing his DWP payments since the year 2000. Now, according to the DWP, if I'm the appointee, it only can be given to somebody else with my permission. So, for example, now that you're the appointee, I can't become the appointee without your permission. That's correct, yes?
Mm-hmm.
So how can it be that you become the appointee without my permission?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Like I say, I don't know the ins and outs of it. I think we applied to be appointee once. We got the notification from the Office of the Public Guardian. The case with your brother being a deputy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but our brother was made. Look, this is another thing. There's something really fraudulent going on here, and I'm going to be quite open and transparent with you. The fact that my brother had become the appointee, because he didn't become the appointee after the court order. So the court order was signed in January 2019. He actually became Talib's appointee in I think March or in April the year before. In 2016 when I was incarcerated.
He was a deputy for your brother.
No. The deputy only becomes after the court order makes a ruling, doesn't they? So.
But what I'm saying is that we only got to know about your brother's case until when the OPG contacted us.
No, I understand this, but the point that I'm trying to make here is that
He didn't know anything about you or your brother or anybody else.
no, I understand. And you may not have known, but the local authority knew, didn't they?
Yeah, until the OPG contacted us and said, look, we've got a case here that we think you should take on, and then that's how it escalated.
Okay. But just hold on a second. You can't tell me when the OPG contacted you?
I can't know.
Okay, all right.
Like I said.
Okay. What I'm trying to say is that you're only giving me, from your perspective, quite rightly, of when you took over. What I'm trying to explain to you is that prior to the court order and the OPG's involvement in my brother's case, because the OPG only became involved after Adalat had secured a deputyship order. That's correct, yes?
Yeah.
But prior to that, the deputyship order was granted in January 2019. January 2018. Yeah. So 2018 January he was granted, but he had been my brother's appointee, DWP appointee, without the court order since May 2016, and he had become the appointee without my consent.
Well, I don't know how that went on. I mean,
Yeah, I understand. But so what the point that I'm trying to make, Mr. Mulla, is this: that
appointee after the court decided that we should take over the finances, so that's when we became appointee.
but that's the court. When did the court decide this?
Well, I think we sent you the paperwork.
Yeah, but the court awarded. Look, this is what happened, because there's something fraudulent going on here. Because can you imagine this? The application for the deputyship was made by Adalat, because obviously at that time the local authority were looking to pursue me for a poker case, and they needed somebody to act on behalf of Talib, because Talib's meant to be the victim in all this, and I'm meant to be the victimizer. So Adalat applied to become the deputy. Okay, two of my sisters objected.
Yes.
All right, and so therefore the court decided that in the interim, rather than delaying the poker case, we're going to make Adalat the deputy. All right, and subsequently that a professional deputy should be appointed subsequently. They did not say at that case that Bradford Council should be the deputy. They couldn't have done, because Bradford Council was not, for two reasons. First of all, Bradford Council was not even a party in those proceedings. Number one.
That's what they decided on.
No. Let me just finish the 2 points first. Number one, Bradford Council was not even a party in those proceedings. Number one. Number two is, when the court had ordered that a professional deputy should be awarded, there is a panel of professional deputies. They're solicitor firms. All right. This is what's happened, because if they've appointed you as the financial deputy, as a local authority for my brother, when you, the local authority, were not even a party in those proceedings, and you had not agreed, saying that yes, we have the capability and the means to become the deputy for Talib, then why did the local authority not equally want to be the deputy for my mother?
I don't know.
And the reality is that they can't become the professional deputy because...
by the Office of the Public Guardian, so...
Pardon?
I said we're just going on what the Office of the Public Guardian...
Because what happened was this, that I contacted the Office of the Public Guardian in 2018 to tell them that Adalat's been awarded the deputyship, but he's no longer here. Because, after my mother went into hospital in September or November, came out of hospital in November 2017, he absconded. So it was very strange, the fact that the time that he had become the deputy was a time when he was not even involved in my brother's life. He was living in his own house. All right, he was having no further involvement. And then, as you can appreciate, if he's the deputy and controlling Talib's money, and I'm not getting the money, and nobody's providing us with support, Talib started to deteriorate. And so therefore I contacted the Office of the Public Guardian stating this. So the Office of the Public Guardian then came out to view my brother, and he was in a terrible state. He was obviously, very despondent, depressed. And this was around about July 2018. June, July 2018. So then what the local authority decided, in conjunction with the Office of the Public Guardian, is to abduct my brother from our home in August, 3rd of August. Najim Salim, who's, not Najim Salim, Nadia Khan, who is the manager of Baljet Nota. You know who Nadia Khan is, yes?
Yeah.
So she personally came down with some doctors that she obviously controls and had my brother sectioned under the Mental Health Act. All right, that happened on the 3rd of August. Then I'm his nearest relative. They wouldn't even let me see him, saying, oh, he doesn't want to speak to you, and he says he doesn't want to be here, because obviously what they're going on in the background is this criminal conviction that they've got. So this criminal conviction, which they've fraudulently achieved, is the overriding objective. So on paper, it seems one way, but the reality is very different. Now, in relation to that, then the local authority tried to remove me as nearest relative because I wanted my brother to come back home, and tried to get Bev Mabry to be his nearest relative. So then they instigated court proceedings. And that was in August, September, October time. In November time, they've looked to put me back into prison on POCA charges. And so I've gone back into prison then, but what's happened is that in the background, my mum's been left here on her own. And so, but I fortuitously took my mother to with my sister whilst I was in prison. And then these counsel are saying, oh, where's your mum? We don't know where your mum is. And then subsequently, when I've come out of prison, I said, well, what do you mean you don't know where my mum is? You put me into prison. What did you think was going to happen to my mum? All right. So this, and then they tried to put my brother into a care home. And this was in November. You can speak to Baljet Nota and Fungi, what they tried to do whilst they put me into prison. So force me into prison, tried to force my brother into a care home. But my brother does not lack capacity, because he said, no, if I'm going to go anywhere, I should go to live with the Dalit then. Because the Dalit's taken this responsibility. Eventually, they discharged him. They stopped the court case and then started to pursue a separate case with regards to my mother, saying that we're going to negate the lasting power of attorney. So they've spent a lot of time colluding with the Office of the Public Guardian and the courts in order to negate my mother's lasting power of attorney now. But then the idea was that if they're going to remove the lasting power of attorney and made somebody who's a professional deputy, which is a solicitor's firm, and I'm told there's a panel of 60 professional deputies. All right, they're all solicitors' firms. So they made that my mother's financial deputy now. And then they were hoping that they're going to get a court order to sanction my mother living there permanently at my sister's house, and then, to charge me £2,000 for living here and put me back into prison. And that's what the present situation was. And little do they know that the little games that they're playing, I'm just as privy to them. So my mother's been living here since March. So that's put a spanner in the works. But now, right now, as it stands, the Director for Health and Wellbeing, Bev Mabry, in conjunction with your solicitor Parveen Akhtar, are now making a court application to put me into prison back again on contempt of court charges, where they told me I shouldn't tell anybody that they're pursuing an application to put my mum into a care home. And I've wrote to everybody, and I'm sure I've included you in that email.
It's all legal, and obviously we don't get involved in any of that kind of scenarios.
Look, Mr. Mulla, I understand that you're trying to do your best in the limited remit that you're involved in. I understand that you can't get involved in all this. I understand that you've been instructed certain things. But what I need to make you aware of is that presently, my brother is being abused. And before the abuser was Adalat, and I've put in a safeguarding alert to this, and presently it's your organization, the local authority. So where I'm saying to you that the Adala is abusing my brother, or somebody else is abusing my brother, you, the local authority, are saying, yeah, all right, we'll take that on board, because therefore we've got all these powers that we can abuse and push through. But when I said it's you that are abusing him, and it's quite evident, you're just basically saying, no, we're not even going to register that. Because if, for example, my brother Adalat's abusing my brother Talib financially, I've raised a safeguarding alert. What's happened about this? Has Adalat given the money to yourselves?
I'm not aware of it.
Okay. So Adalat's not giving you money that he's got from Talib, and I think that's in excess of £90,000.
I have no idea what there was some, there was some money amounts banded around, but we never got to the bottom of it, I don't think.
Okay, and so, it really surprises me, Mr. Mulla, because obviously the criticism I'm drawing, I've never had drawn any criticism to you, have I, Mr. Mulla? I've never drawn any criticism to you because I understand that your role and remit is very limited. The criticism I'm drawing is to your senior managers and the organisation as a whole, because at a time when I'm living here and I'm caring for my brother and he's not going without, because obviously what are you trying to say, that I'm living here, keeping all the money and watching them starve to death for 7 years? But that's what you pushed through the courts. And I'm still living here providing my brother with daily care. I've spent over £700 buying him a new wheelchair because his mobility issue has not been resolved and he needs to go. I need to take him out everywhere. And therefore you convicted me and sent me to prison and then taken all the money and charged me with a £780,000 liability and taken all the money from all our savings, everything from the family. And now somebody else is doing this, and you're looking to look the other way. Like, what's happened with Adalat and all this money that he's taken? Because we're suffering, and you're perpetuating this by not looking to take any action against Adalat, who has no contact with his family, who had no contact with his family prior to me going to prison, prior to you putting me into prison. So it seems that the local authority have gone to my estranged siblings and said, look, we're going to put this guy into prison. Will you come and take over that role? And my brother Adala said, okay, I'll do that, as long as he's going to get some money out of it. And when he's taken over that role, my brother Talib has deteriorated, because this role that I'm doing, Mr. Mulla, it's not very easy, is it? My brother's doubly incontinent, my mother's doubly incontinent, I'm taking care of them on my own. It's not an easy thing. Not anybody can do what I do, and that's hence why I charge so much. But the bottom line is, Mr. Mulla, now, because obviously you've given me your time, I'm grateful for that, and I'm going to look to end our call now. But bottom line is that, as it presently stands, since we last spoke, nothing's changing. We're not getting any money other than this £200, £215 that you're providing every 2 weeks. How is it in my brother's beneficial interest for you to be his appointee? Can you please explain that to me?
Sorry, do you want me to respond?
Yeah, I would like you. How is it in my brother's how is it in my brother's beneficial interest for you to be the appointee? Let's move the deputyship out of the way with time. The fact that he's getting DWP payments and you're receiving them, you're then sending those payments at cost to the city mental health team. The city mental health team are then coming to deliver the money at our house, obviously at cost, just to give me the money.
Yeah.
All right. And how is that beneficial to Talib, where if I was the appointee, the money would go straight into my bank account like it has been doing, and we will receive it on a weekly basis.
I understand that, but I'm just going on what we get told by the legal team. So this is how it's going to work for the time being.
Yeah, this is how it's going to work until you put me back into prison.
Well,
Yeah, and like I said, Mr. Mulla, you're an intelligent guy. Why have I gone to prison?
anything to do with that?
No, I understand, Mr. Mulla. This is called compartmentalization. So they give you only a small remit and compartmentalize things, so you do not know what's going on.
I don't, seriously, I don't.
Pardon? I know, but this is, but Mr. Mulla, this is designed that way. They're giving you one part job to do, another person another part job to do. It's called compartmentalization. And you might think, oh, well, that seems, yeah, I understand, because that's what's happening to me. I'm not fully aware of everything. My senior managers are, and obviously I'm just following their instructions. But through this compartmentalization process, which I've become very familiar with, this can be utilized to murder somebody. Now, you would say, well, that's a bit of a big jump in it. From me being given a small remit to the fact that you're alleging murder. Well, I can tell you, Mr. Mulla, that is exactly what I'm alleging. That's exactly what's happened to me. Because I've got another brother. Did I tell you I've got another brother called Nazim Hussain?
Yeah, I've seen the email that you've
yes.
previously.
That's right, yeah. So, Mr. Mulla, my brother Nazim, who, unfortunately passed away through this process of compartmentalization. He spent 10 years in a care home, paralyzed from the neck down, because the local authority had neglected him. And what I'm worried about is that same thing happening for my brother, Talib. And that's exactly what's happening now. So this aspect of you saying, well, I'm just doing my job and I don't know anything else and I'm only following orders or instructions. I'm telling you as a representative of the local authority that we are suffering, there's human suffering going on. You can understand if my brother's not receiving his money, because my brother's not like doolally. He knows exactly what's going on. He's just a very vulnerable person who has mental health problems and, is afflicted through his mental health problems. But he knows, he goes, why can't they just give me my money? And therefore, he's insisted that, give me the cash money then. Because that's what he was used to prior to me taking on this responsibility. Because prior to me taking on this responsibility, he used to receive, DWP benefit books that he used to go to the post office and cash.
Yeah.
So since then, he's given me that responsibility. He's clearly, mentally competent, and he doesn't understand why these things are happening. And what can I have to explain to him? He can say, why are they giving my money to Adalat for? And this order that you're saying, we're coming back to this order that you're saying, this is a fraudulent order. Because I tell you why. Because prior to Mr. Kenner giving this order to me, and it's fully redacted, I've then got my sister Zaida on, because I've got her lasting power of attorney, to give me the under-redacted version, and it mentions the local authority. There is no way that any impartial judge at the time would have granted this order. And it was not granted because my sister did not receive a copy of it. And when I spoke to my other sister, Shaida, and I spoke to Adalat, what they've told me is that in the interim, Adalat's going to become the deputy until a professional deputy can be found. That was the order. But that order was not given to anybody. And Adalat told me this because we were on speaking terms then. And then what they've done is that they needed to put the council's name on that. And so then what they've done is they've gone behind the scenes and redrafted the order after it's been done to put the council's name on there. Because when you say you're the appointee, Mr. Mulla, and always have been the appointee, that's factually not accurate. You only became the financial appointee from the DWP in October, after I had presented the lasting power of attorney to you. You've not, because I rang the appointee, I rang the people up because I gave them the lasting power of attorney, the DWP, and they told me this. They told me that his appointee has been the local authority since October 2019, whereas the case was given to you by Adalat since 2018. So that time period, you told me you were the appointee, but you were not the appointee though. Because Adalat was continuing to be the appointee and that transfer didn't take place. So the case came to you in February 2019, last year, and you only became the appointee in October, November time, 2019.
Yeah.
And then you've employed somebody to be my brother Talib's appointee, haven't you?
Well, we've got a team that manages your brother's finance.
Yeah, no, but that's Veronica Patvidanian, but you've then employed somebody as in the role of appointee.
No. She deals with everything.
Okay, all right. But Mr. At this moment in time, the reality is that substantial funds have been absconded with from Talib, because my main concern are Talib's health and well-being. Talib, as I've mentioned to you before, needs access to dental treatment. Yes? I was trying to get him dental treatment, but because you know yourself that because he's allegedly got all this money, which you're controlling, he's not entitled to any benefit. So he's not entitled to free treatment. So I've tried my best to try to get him those treatments. He's now lost all his teeth. As a result, because his teeth are not going to wait around until you guys resolve this problem. Now I'm having difficulty feeding him. So as a result of the action that you, the local authority, have taken, this has resulted in my loss of my brother's teeth. Now once again you're going to say to me, well, your brother losing his teeth, what's that got to do with the council? Well, clearly here's a set of events over time that I'm trying my best, because obviously this is having an adverse effect upon me because I can't feed him properly now. I tried to give him some apples yesterday, and he gives it. I can't eat these apples. I cut up apples. He's telling me, please, I can't eat these apples anymore. And that is a result of him losing his teeth as a vulnerable person. Is that my fault? When I have actively tried to get him dental support, and you're telling me, Mr. Hussain, that my brother is no longer entitled to free treatment because he's got, tens of thousands of pounds that we've taken off you to give to him that we're now controlling. Oh no, sorry, so let me repeat that. So he's got tens of thousands of pounds that we've taken off you and given to Adalat, which we're now taking responsibility for, and Adalat still got this money. And we're not going to, either way, you're not going to get it to help your brother Talib. But the bottom line is that, was that not the reason that you sent me to prison, or purportedly sent me to prison, saying that, we're giving you all this money in direct payments and you're not using it for your brother's benefit? And it's accumulating. And the reality was that you, the local authority, were giving me this money indirectly because you were putting in a Talib's name, and then you were not auditing it for 5 years. So these are, serious problems that now the local authority have got two agendas. Officially, you know yourself, Mr. Mulla, that you're meant to be safeguarding vulnerable people. That's your remit, isn't it? The local authority has that a duty of care, but the duty of care is being overridden by their need to cover up the previous failures. My brother was receiving £410.70 of social care money from the council, in addition to his DWP benefit money. That was the situation prior to you, the local authority, taking this action since 2012. Now the situation is...
I'm going to have to cut this phone call.
Okay, Mr. Mulla. Where are we leaving things?
I don't know. You tell me. We'll continue as we are at the moment.
Well, this is not sustainable, acceptable, and it's a violation of my brother's rights, because you're happy to sustain the situation which is detrimental to my brother's interests, and the reason that it's been sustained presently is because the local authority are looking to put me back into prison.
No, we need to get a steer from our legal people. So
yeah, okay, all right. So that's fair enough. So that's a point forward. So you can say that. Why is Mr. Kenner not speaking to me?
I don't know. I can't tell you that because obviously, I'm speaking to you, but I don't know what about you.
Okay, and you know that email that he sent to you, sir, don't speak to him ever. Do you remember that?
I remember the email.
Yeah, why is he telling you not to speak to me ever? And how is my brother supposed to express my brother Talib's rights? There's something fraudulent going on, and Mr. Kenner is the solicitor now involved in getting me to go back to prison in the committal proceedings.
Well, I'd like to say I'm not party to any of that.
I know, but you may not be, but the people that are instructing you, Mr. Kenner has instructed you as a solicitor. When I speak to the solicitors, because I spoke to Rayman previously, she gives it, we're just solicitors following instructions from our client, and the clients are social workers. And now all of a sudden, in your case, so in my mother's case, they're saying that, I'm just a solicitor, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just following instructions, and the instructions have been given to us by our client, which is the social workers, and I'm following their instructions. And in your case, Mr. Mulla, you're saying to me, as somebody who's responsible for my brother's money, I don't know what's going on here, I'm following instructions from the solicitor. So, both of these can't be correct.
Well, it's certainly correct in my case, anyway.
I know it is, and I have no doubt in what you're saying to me, because I believe yourself to be an honourable person, all right? And you're not going to lie to me. I understand that, but you can understand from my perspective, I can only point the finger at the local authority, because nobody else is. Because it's a team effort, isn't it? And you're part of that team. And so therefore, when I'm pointing the finger at the local authority, of which your partner or team member, which is Mr. Kenner, is refusing to speak to me. So that's a point forward, that if you can speak to Mr. Kenner and ask him to resolve the situation. Because it's not in my brother's interest to get 2 weeks' money every 2 weeks when he's entitled to it every week. And what's happened, so that's one point. Second point is that I need you to tell me what's happened with his missing DWP money.
I'll have to look into that.
can you please confirm to me if Adal's paid you £90,000 that he's controlling of Talib, and if not, what's happening regarding the safeguarding alert that I put in place, because my brother's not receiving any money. We need some money, but you know this circumstances, Mr. Mulla, are designed so I can't get the money indirectly. All right, if I can't get the money indirectly when I directly need this money, right now today, Mr. Fungai Muchichitiri has come and hand delivered me the money. So what's stopping me stealing the money that he's just delivered?
Yeah, I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, so please can you look into this, and maybe we can have a conversation next week?
Well, I can't promise anything. I mean, obviously, and I need to talk to Pat as well, and I think she's off this week.
Yeah, she is off. I spoke to Caroline and she said she's off this week.
Yeah, and also I think she's having an eye operation done next week as well, so I don't know how long she'll...
But Mr. Mulla, as the manager, surely if somebody's off work, if, for example, if she's gone on maternity leave, you would put somebody else on the case.
Yeah, but for short term, we don't have anybody else.
I know, I understand, all right, because of the present situation and your own staffing issues maybe. But the reality is that whatever Pat does, and whatever Pat knows, you should be fully aware of that.
Well,
As a manager.
But the thing is, Mr. Hussain, is that that's just part of my day. Things that I need.
Look, Mr. Mulla, there's just somebody at the door. I'm going to look to end this conversation. I'll leave the things with you, okay?
Let's close this conversation now.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.